Hi, Professor Cato here, and welcome to New York City's Lincoln Center. All right here. Now imagine this lot on my right here is demolished, and you're in charge of those finances. What would that look like? Imagine, if you will, the lease is $10 million at 4.5% compounded monthly over 50 years. Since there's nothing here, yet you still have some kind of income coming in. Imagine that being $2 million reduced by 1/5 every month thereafter. What would that expression look like? What would that model look like? Something like this. Let's move over to the whiteboard and see what that looks like.
As we can see, both components that are needed for the model are right here. The first one is a lease, and since it's a lease, we know we will be using the present value annuity, which is written right here. Normally, we can go straight for the variables and plug in their values. However, we want to take the moment to just refresh ourselves what are those needed variables and what those values are. The important part is to realize that the interest rate, as well as the time period here, both require the compound period interacting. In other words, they apply to both the interest rate and the time in order to achieve the correct calculation. Now we can plug in the numbers. This would be a great time, once the numbers are plugged in, to pause and see if we can arrive at the correct calculation. Feel free to do that right now, whether it's your calculator or you're using Google as a calculator, not the Google calculator itself. We can take the moment right now and see if we arrive at the correct answer. If done correctly, your answer should be the following. $41,938.98. Now this only answers the first component, which we will need to create our model, yet it is far from our final answer. The second component is simply the fact that we're receiving $2 million for the first month. However, we got to keep in mind that reduction of 1/5 every subsequent month of whatever the current value is. So say the current value, whatever it may be, when we subtract it, we can think of it as multiplying by 1/5. Or you can think of it as a complement. You take the current value and multiply by 4/5 of it, whatever it may be. Now we can move on to our leading question, which is asking, how would you represent this monthly situation? In other words, what is the model? It's simply 2 million minus the lease of the lot. And this shall represent our base model. As for the follow-up question, it's asking what would the second month's model be? Keep in mind that our income is reduced every month subsequently. Our last value was 2 million, and as mentioning before, an easier way, instead of taking off 1/5 or subtracting off 1/5, is to simply multiply by 4/5, its complement, while maintaining the lease, because it is a recurring payment as opposed to a one-time payment. Simplifying this gives you the second month's model, which is now 1,600,000 minus the lot's lease. Now that we have the base model and the follow-up question answered, we can wrap up this video with some closing statements to keep in mind.
All right, and that's our mathematical modeling example. And just remember these three things. One, make sure the components are used to construct the model. Second is make sure that the model is complete before attempting the follow-up questions. And lastly, the follow-up questions in our problem are the manipulative type. All right? Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.